Hey there, viewers, and welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. If you're new here, welcome to our channel. Got this 89 Chevrolet Corvette here. It's got the big 5.7 liter in it. And the guy dropped it off just a few minutes ago and says that once it gets hot, it quits running. And by that he means when it's hot, like ambient temperature outside. Steamy 87 degrees today in upstate New York in the shop, so probably in the 90 something outside. It's hot, I know that. And supposedly when he takes this thing for a drive and he gets down to the Walmart and he shuts it off, comes back out and she just cranks. And that's it, won't do nothing. And he tells me that he lets it sit for a few minutes, half hour or something of that nature. And then all of a sudden it starts, but it runs really crappy. So what he did is he took it and drove it around evidently and brought it here and dropped it off and says, "It's all yours, have at it." And I guess a little backstory on this thing. He doesn't drive it. The guy's got, you know, a bazillion cars, and this one just sits in the garage. So I think he got like a whole whopping 400 miles on it last year. So he kind of recognized that. He drove it, you know, until it like completely ran out of gas, like literally ran out of gas. And then he filled it up with high test, because that's what we always do when our car runs crappy. You know, dump a couple home brews in the tank and fill her up with high test and good to go. But not in this case. He still had the same symptom even with, you know, good gas, or at least gas from this year. So I guess I'll just throw that out there. Other than that, he didn't really have much more information other than the fact that once it does restart, it runs crappy. He lets it sit overnight and, you know, fires it up the next day, and it seems to run fine. So right now it is, I guess, warmed up, so to speak. He doesn't live that far away, so whatever it took him to, you know, drive around a little bit and get it here. So I figured before we hop in it and take it for a shimmy down the road, we'll plug in our scanner and get some scan data and check it for codes and things of that nature, and then see where our diagnosis leads us. So this baby here, she's old school, OBD1. And to blow the dust off this adapter, I guess first thing first, we'll check it for codes here. We have no codes, so we'll go look at some data. We're just key on, engine off right now, and I assume it's warmed up. Well, we're at 983,000 RPMs. That's really zinging. Oh, let's see. So we're at 150 degrees coolant, 131 intake. Just want to see if anything's kind of odd or out of place here. You know, it's not unusual on these older cars to see, you know, parameters filled in for the RPM and mass airflow and stuff. Key on, engine off. So I'm not too excited about that. Our battery's a little low. Well, I tell you what, nothing looks really bizarre. So I say we take and fire this baby up. I don't know if you heard it, but it didn't really start that good. It sounded like it had a little hesitation. Sounds a little bit rough. Hard to tell. He's got a little bit of a throaty exhaust. We'll sit here and let it. It sounds like it might have a single cylinder misfire sitting there. We'll let her warm up here and kick in a closed loop. Kind of see what that looks like. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's running that great. Tune up, see what it sounds like. definitely sounds like a single cylinder misfire. Couldn't see that from back there. Now let's let her run a little bit. So if you remember, or if you can recall, so this is OBD1, right? So we don't have our short-term, long-term fuel trim parameters that we're used to looking at. We have our block integrator and our block learn. If I remember right, and this has been a long time since I worked on OBD1. Most of these suckers have hit the crusher. The block learn is your long-term fuel trim, and your integrator is your short-term fuel trim. And 128 is half the blocks. That's 128 is what we would usually think of as zero on our fuel trim. So numbers above that is positive fuel trim. Numbers below that is or our negative fuel trim. So if we've seen a number like 100, that would be a negative fuel trim trying to make up for what we would think of as a rich condition. So kind of something to keep in mind. But just because I see our block learn here, which is our long term, is running 118, which a little below 128, so that would tell me it runs a little bit on the rich side. I don't know how long it has to run to go on closed loop, but as soon as it does here, I'll kick the camera back on so we don't have to sit here and look at this data. Okay, so not much time passed, and it is now in closed loop. Looks like we've got some good O2 switching there. So it looks like it has fuel control, even though it's running kind of crappy. Integrator's holding around 128. Well, it's pretty normal. Tell you what, nothing really looks, at least to my eye right offhand, too far out of line. It doesn't really sound that good. So I tell you what, before we get too far deep in this thing, why don't we take a little peel down the road and see how it acts driving down the road, and just kind of give us maybe give us some more clues in the right direction here. I got our scan tool with us. Kind of hard to show the data on that and hold the camera and drive this big Chevy. Oh, ABS is kicking on. Whoa, that's handy. Hang on, people. Set my camera back up. I hate driving these rattle traps. Alright, here we go. Definitely feels like maybe a single cylinder misfire. Just by my ear, I don't know if you can hear it in the video, but definitely sounds like we got a single cylinder misfire. So we probably ought to trace that down before we get too awful far. It could be a little bit of a clue, but we'll take it. We'll get her warmed up. We're up to 200 degrees right now, 202. Of course, it's coming down a little bit now. We're driving down the road. I think the fans kick on at 220 or something on these older GMs. We'll take it for a little shimmy around the block and then shut it off and at least see if we can duplicate its symptom. If we can't, we'll at least look at that single cylinder misfire. That could be part of the complaint of running crappy. The way he explained it, it sounded like a misfire anyways. Great, here's a cop. Lovely. Alright, yeah, definitely skipping. Give her the beans. Oh, baby! I like driving my VTEC. Yep, I'm gonna say it definitely has a misfire. see what it does when we punch it. I don't think we're lacking for fuel or anything, just from the feel of it. Okay, I tried to position that the best I could. Just got the O2 up there so we can kind of see what it does at full throttle, just to kind of verify fuel delivery, you know, make sure it stays on the rich side. And the rest of the data I really can't see. I got the I got the Barris kind of stuck under the seat. I'll look at my data when I get back. So we'll come out here and we'll give it the beans and see what it does. Definitely skipping though. Rich on us and then right back clean as we decelled, so I don't think we're dealing with any kind of fuel delivery issue here. We'll head back to the shop. We got a problem right there. So I just pull out of there and put it right to the rug, and boy, she was really laying down. Yeah, now she's running crappy. Okay, let's look at this data again. There's our O2. Let's see if I can catch this again. So that's full throttle. Way to the wood. Oh yeah, she's pegged right out lean right there. Okay. Now I'm coasting down again. Alright, so we got a little bit of an issue right there. Boy, our first test spin there running full throttle, it seemed to be doing pretty good, but boy, now it's really running bad. It sounds like we lost more than one cylinder now. Alright, let's get back to the shop. This thing's running really crappy right now. You guys can hear that in the video. Survived the road trip. I'm gonna have a look at some stuff here. Fans are on, yeah, it's about 2 1/4. So definitely warmed up. It's pretty interesting on that drive there. Watch our O2 lay right down. That's, you know, it definitely tells me some kind of fuel delivery issue. Block learn is up a little bit, compensating for a lean condition. Of course, our short term is running right about where we expect it, you know, which, you know, if this compensated for a lean condition, we'd expect this, just like our short term fuel trend, to be hovering around 128. You know, this is our long term memory. Well, let's see, car's running pretty crappy right now, it's loping pretty good. Let's see if we can duplicate his problem. The crank's okay, no start. Now that we've got it warmed up, I'll shut off, let it sit for a few minutes. So I think before we go chasing down, you know, misfire and that lean, you know, whatever was going on there, full throttle, I've shut it off. let it sit long enough to walk into the Walmart and come back out. So I say we crank it over now and see what happens, see how it starts, and then if it does start, like I say, we'll chase down that misfire there, multiple misfire. Try to hold it full throttle. I don't smell gas, but well, there's the symptom. Ah. Well, it's exactly what he stated. Let's just go real quick here and check for codes, see if it generated any codes. I didn't see any money light on when we were driving. No codes. Perfect. So there you have it. There's our symptom that is duplicated, although we saw some other issues when we were driving it. We saw that lean, full throttle condition. Obviously it had a misfire. You know, we don't know what that's all about, which he didn't say much about other than the fact it runs crappy when it gets warm, so maybe, you know, that's what he's talking about. This is the big one. You know, crank's okay, no codes, no start. So easiest thing to do is, you know, let's just kind of start with the basics. We need a certain amount of things to make a car run. You know, it needs to breathe, which we assume the car can. We just drove it, didn't act like anything was plugged up converter-wise or anything. We need fuel pressure, we need injector pulse, we need spark. And, you know, obviously compression, and we need all that stuff to happen at the right time. So let's start with our basics. Let's check, this is a distributed car. Distributor's right up top, so we'll pull the cover off, check for spark, injector pulse, and fuel pressure. So we'll pull this cover off the distributor here. Easiest way to check for spark. It's got HEI ignition in it. Huh? So we can work on it, man. Bye. Bye. See ya. Woo! That thing's toasty. Alright, let me grab my spark tester. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter which one. Everything's hot here, boy. I'm taking our spark tester on here. See if we got a spark. Well, we got a spark on that one. Let's check a couple of these here. Oh, let's grab this man. That one's a little tight. Let's check number one right here. There we go. That's in there. Looks like we got a nice spark on that one. Let's see what we got here. Alright, we got a spark on at least 2 cylinders. Let's see. Because we were dealing with that one intermittent lean condition, let's just go right over here while it's not running. Everything's higher than Banshee. Let's check our fuel pressure. I don't smell gas at all. That much cranking, I would think. You know, if we were flooding out, I would assume we'd smell it. Man, everything is so hot. We're gonna spray. Ah, we're spraying gas. Danger, danger. Now the gas doesn't smell old. That's good. Of course, he did tell me he put new gas in it. Full tank for us. Let's see what we got. Now just cycling the key, looks like we got 35 pounds. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but still, our spark hasn't gone anywhere. So I'm gonna turn that around. Can you see that? Yep. Let's see, we got spark, we got fuel pressure. Lovely. heck's sake, injector pulse. I guess it don't matter which one we get. Plug in our little noid light here. See if we got injector pulse. Well, we've got a dim, fast flashing light. Let's check another one here. Let's see what we got. Well, we have spark. We got some dim injector pulse. Just for grins and giggles, let's test light here, make sure we got a bright light on one of these. Yeah, we do. Okay, we got both of them, yeah, because the injector driver will pull it down. Okay, I just want to make sure we had what looked like a good bright light there. So keep in mind, this is an old car, this is an 89. So when we're using a noid light, we're not gonna, I don't think we're gonna see that big, you know, that really bright light, because this car is port fuel injected, right? So I think that's what they call these. They're not, it's whatever, it's not sequential. So basically there's only two injector drivers in these old cars. So one fires this bank of the engine and the other one fires that bank of the engine, and that's it. You know, they don't fire sequentially like what we're used to nowadays, where, you know, each injector fires each cylinder at a given time. These just, they just kind of flick. So it's going to flick 4 times faster on one side, I imagine, something like that. Sounds like we got compression when it cranks. Doesn't sound like anything mechanical. So we're gonna have to go to the next test. Plug our stuff back in. I want to get this fixed while it's acting up. You know, I hate to have it start or something. Alright. Still not starting, that's good. We still got spark and we still got fuel pressure. I'll tell you what, let's try a little something here. No video is complete without a little brake cleaner. So trying to incorporate it in every video is difficult, but being that I don't smell gas at all, we have fuel pressure, injector pulse, and spark. Let's hot. Pull that PCD out. Let's give her a little sniff of good stuff. That's hot. Let's just see for grins and giggles if it kicks on us. Gives us a little sign of life. Well, there's a problem. Brake clean, problem solver. That kind of answers our question. We have a fuel delivery issue when it's hot, evidently. And I got a sneaking suspicion as to what it is. We seem to be maintaining good fuel pressure. We've got good spark. There's no sense in keeping our spark tester in here. sense in checking injector pulse anymore. Of course, we could go down and check it on all of our injectors, or scope them out rather. But what I say we do, being we got our fuel pressure gauge hooked up, is do an injector drop test. See if these injectors are flowing. When they're hot, you know, this car sits a lot, sits with crappy gas in it. Maybe the injectors are seized up or something like that. Maybe that's the cause of our misfire. Our long-term fuel trim, our block integrator was starting to climb, you know, indicating, you know, an overall lean condition. And we also had, you know, when it really started running crappy after we let it get really hot, you know, 200-ish, whatever, 220, we sat there and frigged around with the scan data. So maybe, you know, maybe these injectors are crapping out when it's hot. Give it a little sniff and kind of get things rolling, and it seemed to want to run there. And he did mention that once the car sits and cools down, that it starts, just runs crappy. All kind of makes sense. So I say we have a look, and I've got this old injector pulser tool, and we got our fuel pressure gauge hooked up. No better time than right now. Oh man, these cars are too little. But anyhow, here's this baby. She's old. It's ET2531. It has 9 connectors. I tend to write that stuff on the box. This is what it looks like. Because if I loan it out to somebody, I want to make sure I get it all back. So what this does is we're going to put it on the injector, and we're going to switch it to injector, and then we're going to put it on a multiple pulse. So it will trigger the injector, just as if it was hooked to the car, and we can watch our fuel pressure gauge. Now see if it drops. If it does, then we got to go bark up some other tree. I don't know its spec as far as, you know, how much it should drop, you know, given the amount of pulses. You know, that I don't know. I don't think that information's published, but we're going to look for relativity amidst them. You know, they're all going to be about the same or thereabouts. Let me get a connector. It's this one here. Yeah, we got a connector. Hook that to our harness. Trigger it. So I'll show you that. Let me grab a noise light and I'll show you what this does. Oh, noise light's right here. Yeah, look at that. I'll show you what this thing does. So if this is, you know, the injector, we put it on there. We hit the button, and that's what we got. You can see, hopefully you can see, now that it pulses. Or we can put it on a single pulse. It turns on, you know, a given amount of time, and then shuts off. So we'll put it on multiple, where it's probably hard to tell with the camera, the refresh rate of the camera, but that actually flicks. You know, it's hard to see, I know. Anyhow, take my word for it. That's what it does. So we'll make sure the car doesn't start. If it doesn't, we'll continue on. Tester first. Alright, we got nothing. Let's hook it up. Start right here, driver's side front. Hook it up. Our tester here lights up, shows us that we have continuity to the injector, so we're not dealing with an open circuit. We're at 30, about 38 pounds of fuel pressure, and we're going to trigger it. And we're still at 38 pounds of fuel pressure. Again, same thing. Put it up on single. Well, our tester's working. We got nothing. Let me grab a little something to tap on that injector while we do this. Okay, I'm gonna try to tap on it as soon as I push the button. I'll start tapping. We are at 36 psi. Here we go. only dropped about 1 psi there. Interesting. Let's move down one hole. Whoa! That's off. We're at 35 psi. That one's not doing anything. What the thunder? Is this our answer? Does that really have 2 seized up injectors side by side? Well, let's keep moving here. I'm going to take a cycle the key, get our pressure back up there. Alright, so we're back to 35 psi on our gauge now. Pull out the number 5 injector. Thank you. Number 5. Got her plugged in. Hey, that one works. Woohoo! Alright, let me show you that a little closer there, guys. Let me regain our fuel pressure. Alright, so we're at 35. Got it set on multiple fire. Watch our gauge. Well, it worked just once. Make sure we got good connection. And it worked on a single stroke. Oh, there it goes. Now you hear it? Can you hear it? Zoom in there. Yeah, we're filling that cylinder right with gas, so we better stop. So that one works. We want to do cylinder 7 here. We're going to plug that in. Probably ought to crank that. Might start with that fuel in the cylinder. Kind of like that little sniff of the go juice to get it running. Let's just kind of crank it over. That way we don't get this pig flooded out. That's pretty cool. So we got 2 bad injectors on this side. Let's check number 7 here. See what she says. Number 7. Now number 7 works. If you guys saw that or not, let me kind of zip in there for you. There's number 7. And it has sort of dropped, so we got 2 dead ones on this side, so we'll fire it up and go check the other side. Alright. So it likes a little bit of gas to get started. So we'll start right here on number 2. Cylinder 2. Number 2's plugged in. She's dead. Alright, zoom in on that so you can see it. So here's cylinder 2 sitting about 38 pounds. Oops, got it on a single shot. Hopefully you guys can see that there. We hit it, and we got enough. Doesn't even drop a pound. So there's 3 bad injectors. Move on to number 4. Plugged in, we got continuity. That's set up where you can see it. Bring this by. Again, we got nothing on 4. I'll be darned. Gotta have something on something because it kind of works when we started here. Let's check these last two. Just got to plug them both. Number 6, number 8. So this is plugged into number 6. I hit the button. Nothing there. Last but not least, number 8. Hey, number 8 works. Look at that. Away she goes. Well, I'd say we have a problem. Well, I think we pretty much figured out what the problem is here. These injectors are either seizing up or quitting electronically. Coils are shorting or something of that nature when they get hot. So that's pretty wild, because evidently the car runs wonderful cold. But you can see that, we give it a little sniffy, away she goes. It must be just running on 4 or 5 cylinders that are working or whatever. So let's just take and just do a quick resistance check on a known good, which we're over here on the driver's side. So I believe cylinder 5 here was good. I think maybe 7. Well, we got our stuff right here. Throw this back on here. I can hear this injector. Yeah, fuel pressure gauge on the other side is dropping. So let me grab my meter and we'll throw that on this injector and then we'll compare it to number 1, which is dead, number 2 is dead. And let's just see if our resistance values, show us that too. Or maybe the coils are good and the pinholes are just frozen shut. I've got my meter here and I've got it set on ohms. Make sure our test leads are good. We got 0 ohms. We would expect to see, according to what I read, about 16 to 18 ohms resistance across the winding of the injector here. Let's see if I can touch this. Oops. Now, let me get it right. There we go. I think I'm hooked up. Let's see. Now, obviously, that must be just touching my heat. Okay, so there's 17.6 ohms. So that's definitely between 16 and 18. And that was on our good injector. Let's hop over here to number 1, which we know was one that was bad or not flowing anyways. Let's see what kind of value we have on that. Yeah, we've got 9.1 ohms on that. So that would definitely increase the amperage on that coil driver. I'm surprised we didn't hurt the coil driver. Let's just check number 3 one right here. I believe that one was not working either. Let's see if we can get our test leads on that one. Oops. See down in there. Oh man, look at that, 1.9 ohms. That sucker really shorted. That's pretty cool. So that's pretty cool. We're able to use the meter here and actually, look at that. That's pretty cool to see that the coils are actually shorting out when they get hot. Personally, I would have guessed that the injector was seizing up mechanically. I guess I wouldn't have assumed that the coil was, or the actual coil was shorting out. I mean, that's almost a direct short. And that low resistance, that really spikes the amperage. So maybe we could look at some injector patterns on the scope. I mean, we already know what's wrong with the car, but maybe we can look at a known good. I don't know what. Being that I don't know what this would look like. We don't see too much port fuel injection nowadays. Everything we do is sequential. They fire one at a time. So yeah, and we'll play around with it a little bit here. So what I did is I went ahead and unplugged all the injectors. So hopefully we can do this test kind of on a single injector, and we know we're not getting any you know, because they're all hooked together, that we're not getting any interference from any of the other ones. So let's find our best one and our worst one here. I think this one here was good. I think number 5, yeah, so it's 17. So we'll use this as our, you know, quote, no one good. Of course, it's starting to cool down a little bit. This injector now is at 10 ohms. That was 8.6. I think this one back here was good. Yeah, so let's use this guy right here. It's 8.6. It's not totally shorted. But this one was, I thought earlier, like 2 ohms, but it must be temperature cycle is changing it to 10.7. 8.6. At any rate, we should see if we do a current ramping test on it, some difference. So we'll start with our known good. Grab our scope and the current clamp. And we'll just save a waveform off that and kind of look at it. So I'm going to use our new Altel MaxiSys 908, and I bought it with the Maxi scope. Now this whole combination here is about 1/4 of the cost of a snap-on scanner, and so it's kind of first time playing with it. I'm going to use the you know, current amp clamp, so we'll get this set up. So we're going to go into our Maxi scope, and we'll get this set up. We're going to go on channel 1 DC. Now the scope isn't as user friendly like as a snap-on. It doesn't have any filters on it, so our signal here might not look the greatest to you at first. We're going to go on a 200 millivolt scale. Now our amp clamp, the setting we're going to have it on is going to be our 20 amp scale, so 100 millivolts equals 1 amp. So we're going to start on 200 millivolts. Our time basis, we'll do it slow because we're going to record. We're going to record it, then we're going to go back and zoom in on it and look at it. So we'll go with, say, 5 seconds per division. That'll give us plenty of time. So I'm going to stop it. I'm going to take and hook up our amp clamp on our car. Turn it on. Zero it out. I've got it hooked up. So I'm going to start it. And I'm going to crank the car over. Stop that. We're going to save that. We'll save that as injector. Oops. Oh, what a thunder. Injector good. What was that? 17, I think 0.8 ohms. Save that. Now what we'll do is I'm going to unplug that injector and plug in our other one. I'll get our ohm reading on that. Okay. Let me turn that here. So this next one we're testing is 8.8 ohms. I got it plugged in. Clamps on it, got it zeroed. So let's go ahead and start the car. Crank it over, see if it starts. That should be enough of a movie for us. So let's save that one. This injector, potentially bad. Oops. That's 8.8 ohms. Save that. Now we can take and bring them back up and go look at them. Okay, I'm back. You didn't even know I was gone, but I'm back. It's about 5:40. It's ready to go home. Had a bunch of stuff to get done. So we left off, we recorded some data. Now the scope is all brand new to me. So I'm gonna go to review data. Let's first have a look at what we perceive to be a good injector. Okay, so we got to zoom in on this. So we'll just pick out one of these patterns here, and we'll have a look at that. So that is, you know, what your stereotypical injector ramp would look like. You know, it'll build current up until it cuts the power as the injector opens and your current falls. We can see what our peak amperage was here. The scope's got some glitches, I'm not gonna lie. So I can't move my horizontal cursor to measure the voltage until I actually move the graph. So I move that. Once I move that, then I can move my cursor, or I guess it'd be my cursor. So we can see 74.3 millivolts, and we got 1 amp per 100 millivolts. So just move our decimal point over a couple spots, and we got 0.743 amps. It's going to be our peak amperage draw on that. Now we can also measure the on time if we had vertical cursors, which when we're in the scope we do, but when we're in the save data we don't, unless you go to the measure button and you select a preset measurement. So if we pick, at DC average, if we pick that, turn it on, turn it back off, now all of a sudden we've got our vertical cursors. I think Autel needs to do some fixing here so we can read our injector pulse width here. Our on or off time, 3.9 milliseconds. Oops. Yeah, we got that just about at the off. Thereabouts, it looks like it got dropped. So yeah, so we got 3.9 milliseconds, and we determined it was drawing, get my fingers to work here. What are we drawing? About 0.73 amps, somewhere thereabouts. That's the good injector, or what seems to be good on the car. We'll go back and we'll look at this bad one. This one here that was shorted. This wasn't shorted as bad as it was when we first started the video. I think the thing was down to like 2 amps or 2 ohms, which we should have threw the scope onto them, because it would have been, a pretty high amperage draw, at least higher than what we had. But thankfully it didn't appear to burn the injector driver out, which is wonderful. So you can see the difference here with this injector that had lower resistance. Lower resistance always creates higher amperage, and you can see when that injector turned on, I mean, that sucker shot right up. Let me see, I gotta move this first for whatever reason. When that baby turned on, it was at our peak amperage of our last one, 0.73 amps, and this thing peaked out. What does peak out at? Around about 1.04 amps. And we can see, now that we've done that, oddly enough. So if you buy an Autel, that's one thing you gotta do. Let's see, there's on. Let's move our other cursor here. I need to get a stylus. There's our off. There's about 2.7 milliseconds on this little guy. So there's your bad injector, and there's your good one. I think that's it, viewers. I hope I wasn't bouncing around too much. I know on camera it looks like it only takes just whatever time it takes. I get to work on things steady and straight through, but that's not always the case, particularly when I'm shooting a video and have other appointments coming in, and or either that I got to go over and help Josh, or phone rings and customers stop in and things like that. So it gets drawn out, and I just hope that when it's all done and I put it all together, that everything kind of fits into place. I think it was pretty definitive to say that when this old Corvette heats up, that those injector coils short out, giving us our no start and our poor running. We probably could have early on in the video, when it was just that single cylinder misfire, we could have kind of chased that down, and I'm certain that we probably would have found a shorted out injector there, or injector that was near shorted out. Now I don't know with these being port fuel injection, if they're all plugged in, if we had one just, you know, just right short to ground, you know, blow a fuse, you know, what to do is it burn up the injector driver. Fortunately, we didn't have to find that out. Fortunately for this guy, we didn't have to find that out, but that's always kind of wonder, like, what if, you know, at least, you know, the lowest one that we measured was at 2 point whatever ohms. But you could see just in the time that I had it shut off, which I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes, whatever it was, that resistance started to kind of increase and got up to whatever we measured it at there, 8.8. But definitely heat seemed to be the culprit. So a good chance tomorrow morning I'll come in, fire this thing up, and it'll run like a top. This guy will be happy because he'll get his Corvette back in tip-top shape, and he's got a choice to make. Either drive it when it's cold, or we can put 8 injectors in it. I'm not going to bother going through and finding, you know, if the 1 or 2 are good. You know, I mean, if we've got the majority, which we do, we've got more than 4 that were shorted or, you know, faulty or weren't flowing when it was hot. We could see with our fuel pressure drop test there that these injectors were done. And I think the best bet is to order all 8 and, you know, be done with it. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't think it's caused from, you know, crappy fuel, obviously, because they weren't stuck, you know, mechanically, so to speak. But I don't know if the fuel can eat through the insides of them. I don't know. I'm just speculating at this point. All I know is you got a whole bunch of them that went bad kind of simultaneously, I guess, because evidently the car used to run good, then it just started doing this one day. He drove it to the Wally Mart and got out there and nothing. So, and we don't want to have this guy left walking, so I say the best thing to do is do all 8. And what I can do is, I know he'll fix it because these guys love their Corvettes, is I'll order all 8 injectors and I'll get some, looks like some intake gaskets there, or plenum gaskets, or wherever the heck it is we got to get. And we'll get this baby wrapped up, and we'll come back and we'll do this in part 2 and see where that leads us, and redo our tests and go out and run the snot out of it, and then make sure it restarts when it's hot and call it a day. But I'm pretty sure we got it. There, I'm ready to go home. It's hot. It's been smoldering, man. It's September, whatever day it is. I don't know, September 8th or 9th or something in upstate New York, and it's hot. Summer's finally here. We had a pretty mild summer, but I tell you what, man, this past week, it's been a scorcher. So it's been up in the 90s, hot and sweaty, and I just want to go home. So at any rate, check us out on Facebook if you haven't already. You can connect with us on Google Plus too if you want to connect with us socially there. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it.